Hello Year 3. This week we are doing an art project on fruits and flowers as voted by you. So fruits and flowers, we are going to need to think about what we need to do first when we're doing art. We're going to need to think about colours. We're going to talk about colours, what we're going to use as our tools, so the fruits and the flowers, your choice, and how you're going to apply that to make a fantastic piece of art. So first of all, I'm actually back at my own mum and dad's. So when I was going to do some art, I first of all asked permission and thought about the cleanest place to do this in the house with internet connection so I could talk to you. And that happens to be the kitchen floor. So here we are on my mum and dad's kitchen floor. I have got an art shirt on, so it doesn't matter if I get mucky. I've got some old leggings on as well. So I'm ready to do my art, and I promise to clean up after myself. Let's talk about colour. So we want to think about what colours we want to use in our picture to make it really impactful, really striking. So looking at a colour wheel, which I've just painted here, and there's one in your in the instructions, think about our primary colours. So we've got red, blue, and yellow, and in between are what we call the opposite primary colours is their complementary colour. Can you see the arrows? So red and blue make purple. Purple is opposite yellow, and it's a complementary, it's a contrasting colour. They work really well together. Between red and yellow there's orange, and that's opposite blue. And between blue and yellow there's green, and that's opposite red. Complementary colours, so although it says complementary, it's actually they're opposite. But because they're opposite, they're really striking. And the best example of this is Cadbury's chocolate. So in their advertising, they've chosen yellow and purple, which are opposite on the colour wheel. They are complementary colours, contrasting, to do some really striking advertisement and draw you in to buy their chocolate. Some other examples I found in the house. This is a print of my old dog. So my sister got this done for when I went to university, so I had a picture of him. And you can see, especially in this bottom corner, you again have yellow and purple. You have green and red at this corner. So that's using contrasting colours. And it's there's a famous artist called Andy Warhol, who you might want to go and research, but he used this kind of print as well. And behind me I have, more similar to the artwork we're going to be doing, is a printed pattern of some bicycles, and they've got blue and orange, so again contrasting colours. Now, once you've chosen your colours, we need to think about what we're going to use, our fruits and flowers. I have got, starting with fruits, inspired by the picture we were looking at, I have got some oranges. Well, one orange, chopped in two, and other citrus fruits would work as well, say lemons or limes, and I love that connection to Italy, because that's the kind of fruits that would be growing out there where it's a bit warmer. So a top tip, if you're going to be using fruits, is the day before, so I found out actually it's better to let them dry. We've got the whole week to do it. So the day before is to use a teaspoon to take out the sections, and then you can see that it's easier to see the actual lines in the middle. This is the one yesterday that I used to practice to do my purple, and today we're going to use this to do our yellow, which are the opposite colours inspired by Cadbury's. So I've got up to here. I've thought about my colours, and I've also thought about my pattern, my repetitive pattern. So I produced this yesterday and I've let it dry. I think this is where my orange was a little bit wet yesterday, and if I did it the day after when the orange was dry, then the print might be a bit stronger. It might have held the paint a bit better. So this is all about experimenting. We've got a whole week to do it, and that's part of the art process. So art is like English, where we plan what we're going to write, and then we have our first attempt, and then Miss Oren asks you on Friday, now we're going to edit our work and we're going to make it the best masterpiece we can. And if that's the case, and maybe an adult that you're with might even want to display your artwork, we are definitely excited to see it. So here was my first attempt, and I'm going to wiggle back here, and now using the other half of my orange, I'm going to use, I have a paintbrush, but you can use your finger as long as you're able to clean. So I'm going to use this paintbrush to put the paint on carefully. Or actually, I'm going to show that you can just splodge it. So squash it all out, trying to get, so it's got all the pattern around the lines and around the circle and in the middle lines. And I'm going to go in between where this is my pattern, I'm going to go in between the purple. They're going to overlap. I want that to happen. It's deliberate. So let's go. I'm going to carefully put it down and squash it down carefully. Some force and lift it straight up, not to slide it. I think that's quite good. Let's do the next one. So it's really fun that we can start just thinking about, this is my first attempt, I'm going to show you some others. You've got a whole week to develop and edit your masterpiece. I sometimes think that the simpler the pattern, the more effective, the better. So you can see where I'm starting to do that. So let's put my lemon down and show you properly. So it's starting to overlap, and that's a bit like what the artist did in the first teaching video. So I think that could end up looking really effective. It might be my favourite, but that's fruits, and I've started to do the same with some flowers, or what we might call foliage, some greenery that I found, again inspired by what I saw in the painting. So yesterday, and I've let it dry, I have produced this, which I think looks like it almost could be of the time. It's a lot more delicate, and I tell you what, I challenged myself because I've only got these paints. I thought, what else can I use in my house? And Miss Oren and I were brainstorming. If you don't have paints, we thought, well, you could use maybe some raspberries or some other fruits that might say blueberries that you could squash and create a really vibrant colour. You could use ketchup. It could get a bit messy. Or I was looking in the spice cupboard because I thought they're really bright things that we have. And over here, although it's not really bright, it's quite brown. It's like a burnt orange. It's paprika. And if you are using spices, I think just be careful about the amount of water you put in. You don't want it really runny, because these are quite delicate things, but you want to get that balance right so you're able to use it as a paint. So I was using paprika. I've also got some food colour in here. And so there's lots of different things, but always ask permission before you go raiding any cupboards. So I've got that. This was used by some fern from outside, which I thought might have been in the bushes in that picture. And to continue this pattern, which is just repetitive one after the other, I've got this smaller piece, which I'm going to use now with green food colouring, and I hope it works. It might be a bit watery. Let's be very careful. So I'm going to place it down, almost letting the leaves soak it up a little bit and lifting it up. I might give it a little shake. So that's if there's excess, if there's extra stuff on our paintbrushes, which we would do, or in this case, our pieces of flowers or fruit. So shaking that off, and I'm going to place it in between. I think you can see, so I'm going to place it in between down here. Again, a deliberate thought about where I want my pattern to be. I've squashed down each leaf, and I can see that it's almost bled out a bit. So because it's watery, the colour has spread, and we call that when it's bled out a little bit. And I'm going to really carefully try and lift it up. And put one more leaf down. And I don't think it matters if it's not absolutely perfect. I think that's because we're working with natural products. It's nice, actually, that it's not totally perfect, because nature, that's what makes nature lovely. Let's lift that up again. It's just showing a repetitive pattern. And it's starting, my little leaf is starting to lose the colour. That's almost another, so it's maybe better. I'll show you. This is where you need to have a play and edit your work. So this was my first one with lots of actually water on. And as you can see, as it starts to get a bit drier, this way, the pattern becomes a bit clearer. So you'll have fun making this much better than mine. I've also just got these other things to show you before I go. So other bits I've chosen in my garden. These are things that I could find down in Tutankhamun as well. Some really fine, really beautiful, just a weed, just some grass seed. But that's what I just find fascinating. It's so delicate, and we're going to try and grab some print from that. This is another weed, and I thought I could splodge this, a bit like the sweet corn, where they were just rolling it to create the effect of what they had on the outside, that bobble effect. And this is actually some lavender, so we're going to have some nice smelling artwork as well. Lavender makes you feel really calm. Nice. Right, I've got some red. So let's maybe try splodging with some red. So here we go. I'm learning from my previous one that I'm going to only put a little bit on, rather than then keep the pattern a bit better of these delicate flowers. Splodge down and straight up. Down and straight up. Down, straight up. I think that's really pretty. And let's try maybe some blue with this really delicate one. So very, very delicately putting it in. You might not even get it all. But I'm just going to roll this one. It's getting a little bit of it. Let's see if it's got enough paint. It is, because that is very, very, very delicate. It's got some very little. I am picking up some of the seeds. And let's lastly try the lavender. Let's go blue again. And see, I probably put a bit too much on my paintbrush. I'm going to roll it like the sweet corn in the pictures I've given you. I think this is where you need to have a play. I think the best one, the most effective, was that first one, the weed that I could splodge down. You could see I was starting to pick up the seeds as well. So have fun. I wonder what fruits you're going to use, what flowers. If you're going to use flowers, you need to use them quite quickly, because I tried to do that and it's closed up and withered away overnight. So you need to get permission before you're chopping any flowers off. That's why I think weeds are quite good, because you're doing the adults a good job anyway by helping their garden, or you're not stealing anything you shouldn't be stealing from the common. But enjoy. I'm very, very excited to see what you create. See you soon.